Hi, everyone. Reverend Derek here tonight with a talk on A Course in Miracles. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a new way of seeing. Before we get started, my name is Reverend Derek. I am a minister of A Course in Miracles, and we're going to be going live every other week to explore the workbook lessons from A Course in Miracles. If you don't know what A Course in Miracles is, we'll talk about that here in just a quick second. Before we go further, I just wanted to say if you are somebody who is struggling with something right now, if you are a spiritual seeker of some sort, and you have some kind of relationship challenge, a work challenge, a health challenge, you have something going on and you're looking for a way that you can overcome that, whether you're in need of like a mental miracle, a shift in your own perception, or if you're also in need of a miracle in your external world. That's the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about in these Tuesday night talks. Before we get started, I do want to say a quick prayer, and then we're just going to jump right into the talk. All right, so if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a couple nice deep breaths. Inhale through your nose. Inhale very deeply. And after you've taken a couple deep breaths, just allow your breathing to return to normal. And so we turn within, we turn to God. For many of us, this is the first time we've paused today. First time we've slowed down a little bit. And let us be grateful. Grateful to take this time to be still, to reflect, to turn within. It's that place where that thing we call God, we call the universe, whatever you might call it, dwells. And dear God, we are so grateful for this moment, so grateful for this opportunity to connect today. And we are most grateful for the miracles that you bestow, miracles we are experiencing now, and the miracles to come in this conversation and the next. And together we say, Amen. So it's a new year, and I've been a student of A Course in Miracles since I started getting into it around 2016, became a real avid student around 2017, 2018, and went through the workbook lessons. And I went through the workbook lessons and just had a life-changing experience. So I've decided to go through it again. Actually, we're going to circle back to that in just a moment. For anyone who's not familiar with A Course in Miracles and what it is, I do want to talk about that first. All right, so A Course in Miracles is this book right here. It is a spiritual book. Within it is contained 3 separate books. So there's a text which goes over the spiritual principles of what the Course in Miracles is attempting to teach us. And then the second book is a workbook, which we'll be talking about and I'll come back to. And the third book is a manual for teachers. So this is basically, it's a text, it's a workbook, and then it's a Q&A at the end of questions that a student might have who is just starting out on A Course in Miracles. Now, the crux of the course, and for my experience, the reason why A Course in Miracles was able to get its way into my mind and heart and do things for me that other spiritual practices hadn't, other spiritual books, other spiritual philosophies just hadn't really. I could, for that material, I could read the material, understand the material, but this was the first material that just really helped me experience what I was looking for. And that's because it has a collection of lessons. So 1 lesson a day for 365 days. The lesson contains a mantra, instructions on how to use that mantra, and sometimes clarification, just talking about what that mantra means. And this is a daily exercise. The Course in Miracles doesn't give you a bunch of instructions in this book, but it does say, when it comes to the workbooks, start in the beginning. Don't jump around. Don't skip around. Just start in the beginning. and move forward. Don't do more than one lesson a day. But if you find yourself needing to stick with a lesson for a couple days, that's totally fine. But just for me personally, if I find I've stuck with it a couple days and like nothing's happening, I just move right on. A Course in Miracles overall teaches the same things that Jesus Christ taught, teaches love, teaches forgiveness. It's very Christian in its terminology, but it feels very Buddhist. It does not preach any doctrine and dogma. It's not trying to get you to believe in God. It's not trying to get you to switch religions. In fact, many people come to it from a variety of faiths, and a lot of people come to it who have no faith at all. There's a fantastic story about how the Course in Miracles came to be. I won't go into that in this video, but that is a fantastic story about that if you want to look that information up and explore that. Now, before I started the workbook lessons, I just want to share with you like where my life was back in 2017, 2018. And the reason I want to share this is just that I'm sure you'll relate to parts of it and just to show you like how impactful this material can be. So A Course in Miracles, overall goal is to help you shift your perception from fear to love. When you shift that perception from fear to love, you get a miracle. Miracles first start in the mind and when necessary, happen in the world around us. Back many years ago, when I was first getting into this, my life had kind of like unraveled. I'm a Scorpio. There's a lot of self-sabotage going on in my relationships and my health, at my job, and my finances, just like anywhere I could self-sabotage, that's what I was doing. And I reached this point one morning. I was just like, I remember laying in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking, my best thinking got me here. Like, what the fuck? I'm a smart guy. I'm a resourceful guy. How did my best thinking get me here? And just really having this like awareness that things just weren't right. And that my own best thinking, think about that. Like my own best thinking, as clever as I was, as smart as I was, that was the best I could get was the situation I was in. And I was in a bad situation. I was in a bad situation mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually, all of it. Just imagine like the worst of the worst you could go through. Like that's where I was, okay? Now, if that's you, keep watching this video. Absolutely keep watching this video. If that's not you, and you know it's not as bad as it could be, but things could still be better, still watch this video. And if you got good things going on and you just want more good things to go on, keep watching the video. Now, laying there in bed and having this moment, I remember just thinking out loud, praying that obviously like I was getting myself nowhere and maybe it was time to hand my life over to God. And that's what I did that day. I was like, you know what, God, like, let's see what you can do, right? Like, this is what I could do. Let's see what you can do. I'll give you my life for a year and, you know, we'll just take it from there. And then I felt something nudge me. Like I had a box of books, get up, go to these books. I walked to this box of books, open it. At the top is A Course in Miracles, a book I'd been carrying around for years, but had never really seriously studied. The reason I didn't seriously study is there is no author on the cover. There's no chapters about getting money, getting the man, getting wealthy, like none of that stuff. And then also the terminology is mostly Christian. And so I just kind of like wasn't interested. Well, that morning I was able to like, just none of that stuff bothered me. I was just so desperate to like get out of my situation I was in. I opened the Course in Miracles to the introduction. I'm gonna read to you the introduction. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. The course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. I read that and I thought, that's what I want. I want the peace of God. I skipped to the workbook lessons. I had just committed to it, giving God a year of my life. Then there's a year of lessons. And I'm like, okay, like this is my path out of my pain. This is how I'm going to get out of fear and into love. This is how I'm going to create miracles in my life. So I simultaneously was reading the text along with the workbook lessons that I was doing. And it wasn't like an overnight thing where things instantly got better. But I definitely went through this period of just realizing, like, we don't know what's best for ourselves. We just don't. We can't possibly know what's best for ourselves. That's the problem with like positive thinking and a lot of us spirituality today is like you determining your path, right? Like you going out there, you manifesting, you determining your path. And what I realized studying A Course in Miracle is that at the end of the day, you just can't trust yourself, not in a negative way, not in a like you're unworthy way, but you can't trust yourself because the same mind that created your problems cannot fix the problems. I hope that makes sense. The same mind that, created this problem in this relationship cannot possibly fix it. Within each one of us exists an ego and exists a spirit. So a voice for love and a voice for fear. And most of us cannot tell the difference between the two voices because the voice of fear doesn't show up and be, hey, I'm the voice of fear. I'm your ego. I'm here to just ruin everything. It shows up like looking out for yourself a lot of the times. And so just this stark realization that my ego had been in the driver's seat for so long, and he made a lot of bad decisions for myself, and just being aware of that, I could just see it happening in my life, largely because of these Course in Miracle lessons. And I was able to start seeing life differently over time, seeing life differently. I was less reactive to things. I was less reactive to relationships. I took better care of my health. I took better care of my finances. I started looking for more exciting jobs. I ended relationships that were not healthy for me. And I just started making some really big changes in my life. There were people that I had struggled to forgive. And I remember like one day, like, I don't remember what lesson I was on. I was somewhere in the second half and just like having this like epiphany that something had changed because I thought of someone from my past and it didn't upset me anymore. I was just like, oh, wow, I pray that person is okay. And this anger that I'd been carrying around for years was just gone. I say all that to say that, whatever you're have going on in your life today, A Course in Miracles, if it calls to you as the thing that is here to help you, it can absolutely help you. One more thing I want to say before we go into the workbook lessons. It's interesting. People often are talking about whether they believe in God. A Course in Miracles, I heard Marianne Williams say, the Course in Miracles isn't trying to get you to believe in God. It's trying to get us to believe in each other. And what I would add to that is if we're talking about belief in God, whatever you call it, the universe, whatever you call that thing larger than us, a conversation about a belief in God is just really, in my opinion, is like spiritually elementary. It's just a silly conversation to have about believing in God. And here's what I mean by that. We experience gravity every day, and nobody is ever walking around saying, I don't believe in gravity. You wouldn't even cross your mind to say, hey, I don't believe in gravity. And the reason for that is because you experience gravity. Gravity is not something to be believed in. It is something to be experienced. And it is the same way with God. God is not to be believed in, because who cares what you believe in? God is to be experienced. So when I see those conversations happening, I just kind of like roll my eyes because it's like this elementary conversation. The conversations we want to have is with our experience of God. What these workbook lessons do is help you to have that experience of God, to help you to have that experience of that shift from fear to love, to help you hear more clearly the voice for God, the voice for love within you, and what it's directing you to do, what it's directing you to say, where it's directing you to go. The goal ultimately in getting you from fear to love is getting you to become a very highly developed, intuitive instrument. Someone who you wake up in the morning and you are so guided, guarded, and directed with where to go, who to be, what to say, all of that stuff, free of your ego, is the goal of A Course in Miracles. So I hope all that makes sense. Feel free, if it doesn't, you want me to clarify anything, just like comment below. Uh, so the workbook lessons start with workbook lesson number 1. Nothing I see means anything. And so it instructs you a couple times a day to say, nothing I see means anything. You're looking around the room, nothing I see means anything. You're not meant to understand this lesson. You're not meant to question it. You're just meant to practice it and see what that does for you that day. And I remember when I first started this, I just my ego resisted these workbook lessons, but they build and build on top of each other. So if you're doing the lessons from the first of the month, you're now on the 14th lesson. I'm going to just talk through these quickly and then we'll summarize them. So day 1, nothing I see means anything. Day 2, I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. Number 3, I do not understand anything I see. Day 4, these thoughts do not mean anything. Day 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. Day 6, I am upset because I see something that is not there. I remember being on day 6 and I'm practicing this. I'm like, okay, nothing I see means anything. I've given everything all the meaning that it has for me. I'm never upset for the reason I think. And then I'm wondering, why am I upset then? And it's not answering your questions. It's just asking you to practice this. I remember the first time I went through this, it was huge for me. The reason I started back at the beginning of this year going through these lessons is because I kind of last year, I was mostly just hopped around because I'd been through the workbook lessons before. I just hopped around at different lessons. And last year was really tough. I had some family tragedies go on. I had a lot of work stress, I had some health challenges. And a friend of mine who kept saying, Derek, why don't you two take the workbook lessons and what they did with you with your situation before, do them again and apply them to what you have going on at work and what you have going on at health. And let's see what that does for you. Let that create a miracle in those situations for you. And I was like, brilliant idea. 6 months later, decided to start doing that. And so I found myself these past 2 weeks being in a work situation. One of these is I'm upset because I see something that is not there. And then day 7, I see only the past. Day 8, my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Day 9, I see nothing as it is now. Day 10, my thoughts do not mean anything. And as you're doing these lessons, what really hopefully is popping out to you is that basically my thoughts don't mean anything and nothing I see means anything because I see only the past and I'm so preoccupied with the past. So I have this coffee cup. I wish I had it sitting with me. It uses an example of a coffee cup. When you pick up a coffee cup, are you just seeing a coffee cup or are you associating with past experiences of a coffee cup? And I find that lesson really interesting because I've got this Wonder Woman coffee mug and it's really cool. It's blue. It has her from all the different decades, her costume kind of just posing, I think from the 50s all the way up to 2010. It's a really cool coffee cup. Every morning that I use that mug and I pick it up, I look at it and I can't remember who bought it for me. I can't remember if it was this person or that person. If this person is watching this video, well, let me know it was you. But I can't remember who it was. And it's 2 different people I have 2 different emotions about. And then I look at the costumes she's wearing on the coffee mug and while I'm making my calls in the morning. And I think about, that decade of comic books. And then I look at the ones where I was reading the comic books and I think about those comic book stories I was reading and how great they were. And I think about that time in my life and sitting in that room I was sitting in. And then sometimes I'll even think about today's comics and how they just don't even compare to the way they told comic book stories back then. And sometimes I'll just be thinking about it too much. Now, this is just a coffee cup, and I have a lot of positive memories with this coffee mug and a lot of positive memories about Wonder Woman. But if this is happening with a coffee cup, this is happening all the time. So on a more dramatic, more real problem of that is I had something going on at work last week. We had a meeting about something, and I went into the meeting just thinking about something that had happened in that meeting 2 years before. 2 years before, I'm thinking about what happened in that meeting and how I felt like I got screwed over in that meeting and nobody listened to my ideas in that meeting, and just like the what the fuckness of this meeting. And I'm so thinking about 2 years ago. Crazy thing is, like, most of those people don't even work there anymore. And yet I'm taking this into this meeting. Now, fortunately, I'm aware enough that I don't, most of the time, don't react from that place. I can just like take a deep breath and be like, okay. And I was practicing my workbook lessons that week. And I was like, well, you know what? I'm upset because I see something that is not there. I'm upset because I see only the past. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Now, these are different from affirmations, right? Affirmations is where you take what you want to be true, or maybe you take something that is a spiritual truth and you start repeating it. But the problem with that is often you're just like pouring pink paint over an old beat up house. The mantras undo the thought pattern naturally and organically. It's not just I could have gone in and be like, oh, this is a brand new opportunity, brand new moment. No, the reality is I am consumed with my past thoughts, and I need to realize that before I can turn away and focus on something more positive and creating a different experience. So from there, day 9, I see nothing as it is now. Day 10, my thoughts do not mean anything. Day 11, my meaningless thoughts are showing me a meaningless world. Day 12, I am upset because I see a meaningless world. Day 13, a meaningless world engenders fear. Day 14, God did not create a meaningless world. So I want to come back to that today's lesson here in a moment. Now, I lost my train of thought. These workbook lessons aren't just lessons you do one day and then you forget about the next day and you forget about the next day. They are building on each other. The first 6 months of the workbook lessons are meant to undo your thought patterns of fear. The second 6 months, the second half, is to replace those thought patterns with your thought patterns of love, your natural thought pattern. These are meant to be tools in your problem-solving repertoire. So let's just take this and apply this to a real life scenario, okay? Like my work situation. You're in a work situation. You're talking to your partner, a business partner, a friend. You're talking to someone, and you're getting upset thinking about things that happened in the past. And you just say to yourself, I see only the past. See only the past. I'm upset because I see something that is not there. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Now, that's not necessarily going to change things drastically in the situation. What it is going to do is it's going to take the charge out of that thought pattern, right? So in my work situation, when I was all wound up, and then I said, I see only the past. And it just took that energy out of it. And I could just go into the meeting and be more open-minded and not bring in the baggage from 2 years ago. And it was really a great experience. And you can apply this to anything you have going on, any stress you have going on. You remind yourself, I see only the past. One of the things the course does recommend is that you include everything equally. You don't exclude certain things and you don't focus on certain things. So when you're giving you an instructions and you close your eyes, and it's my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts, I seem to be thinking about this work meeting, but the truth is my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Now, for those of you doing the lessons, this probably makes a lot more sense than those of you who are not doing the lessons. For those of you not doing the lessons, I strongly encourage you to start them. A lot of this will make more sense. And again, it's not trying to get you to believe in these lessons, to believe in anything, trying to get you to have an experience in which you can set down your fear and begin to see things through new eyes and see things differently. One of the places that A Course in Miracles just really is different than traditional religion is that A Course in Miracles does not teach that God created the world we see. This is a really big difference between traditional religions and how they talk about the creation of the world. And the first time I realized this, it just made so much sense to me. The reason for that is I remember when I was younger, looking around the world and thinking the world is so evil and so cruel, there can't possibly be a God. And then I remember 9/11, seeing the planes crash into the World Trade Center and thinking there's absolutely not a God. There cannot be a God and all of this. And I was very much right. In the Kabbalah, the way they explain it is that there is the 99% world and there is the 1% world. The 1% world is this physical world that we live in. And in this realm, God does not exist. And God exists in the 99% realm. Now, ultimately, the 1% realm is not even real. It's just a hallucination. It's just a dream world where everything seems really real. And within this dream world, this nightmare world, the Course would say, we've not only created dreams, we've created nightmares. Course in Miracles says that basically, a millennia ago, in time as we understand it, we all existed in one, as one, in harmony with God and with each other. But then in crept what it calls this tiny mad idea that we could be separate from God. And ultimately, this thought that we could be separate from God and this desire to go create separately from God was the Big Bang and created the entire universe, and created an entire universe that is based on separateness. Everything about this universe is based on separateness. We have separate galaxies, universes, star systems, separate planets, separate species, different skin colors, different eye colors. Everything is about separateness. And then we take not just the physical separateness, we go down even further to being culturally separate, to being politically separate, to constantly having different opinions and different ideas. So it's just separate, all the way down to our separate selves. And when you look at this world, you can see what that separateness has done, and why. And that man is who created this universe. Not man as in the gender, just mankind. All of us have created this universe together. And that's why we have things like wars and cancer and starving children, atomic bombs, all those terrible things, is because this is a dream world that we have created without God. Now, if I didn't totally depress you there, the good news is that God has placed within each one of us a voice for God. So your intuition, that voice for love that is there within you and can guide you, guard you, and direct you through this dream world, ultimately with the goal of helping you to wake up. And so I lost my train of thought. Sorry, I had a really long day. So this is how we can rationalize that there is, in fact, God and cancer, God and war, because we created this world here. Now, the Course tells us that our job is to be miracle workers. And the way miracle workers work is that we become students of A Course in Miracles. We become students of love. We teach love. The Course says that to teach love is to demonstrate love. And these workbook lessons are helping us to start to see beyond the illusion of the world that we have created collectively and individually, because you have the collective dream nightmare world, and then you have the individual dream nightmare world. And the Course in Miracles is helping us to just see more clearly through that fog, through that smoke, through those curtains. And as we can do that, and as we can shift from fear to love, we create miracles, both individually and collectively. So how do we create miracles? Prayer is the medium of miracles. Through prayer, we are able to shift our perception from fear to love. The Course says that not only is prayer the medium of miracles, that we ask for too little, we don't ask for too much. If something is going on in your life right now, you should ask for a miracle. Say, dear God, I am struggling with my finances, and it is painful, and it's causing me suffering, and XYZ is happening. I need a miracle. Dear God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And the Course says that just 5 minutes spent with what it calls the Holy Spirit, just 5 minutes in silence every morning, praying like that, will make sure that your thought patterns remain mostly in God's hands, and that you'll be less prone to self-sabotage and more prone to go out into your individual world and the collective world as a miracle worker, as someone who is creating miracles. The miracle is the shift in perception from fear to love. All miracles first happen in the mind. That's where all of this is going on, is in the mind. One of the problems with like manifestation, and if you've practiced manifestation, you've probably had some great experiences with it. But the problem with manifestation is if you go out into the world and you try to manifest money, okay, let's say you want to manifest a new job and all this money. Well, if you go out there and you do that and you've never taken the time to heal the underlying thought pattern you have about money, then you're probably going to self-sabotage all of that. You won't be mentally, emotionally, spiritually mature to handle what you've manifested if you still have those underlying thoughts going on. So what's great about A Course in Miracles, and also on top of that, when you're manifesting, how do you know that that's your goal, that's the thing that is best for you, or if that's just what your ego wants to manifest? So by going through these workbook lessons and praying, dear God, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? We better align ourselves with what God would have us have. And what God would have you have is going to be far better than what you think you want. God knows your heart in and out. God can see tomorrow. God can see the future. You cannot. Just simply based on the fact that he can see the future and you cannot, it is best to trust things to God. And so we go through our life in that prayerful state. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom? And if we're living life from that way, then instead of being out here trying to create a job and manifest money, that opens a space for God to say, hey, you know what? You're supposed to be over here doing this thing. You have this really great talent for X, Y, and Z, and this person over here really needs that. And God knows how much your rent is, and God knows how much your mortgage is, and God knows how much you need to live, and how and what a lot of money can do for your experience in ways you cannot. And God's like, go over here. Go over here. I had this experience about 4 years ago. I quit a sales job. I just had been I'd been in sales job after sales job. I just did not like. I was cold calling. I hated it. I was so tired of hating life, just hating my 9 to 5. I had anxiety every morning thinking about getting up and having to make these sales calls. And I was just done. So I took some time off. I took a couple months off, and I made a list with God of some things I wanted in a job. And I put on that list just some things that were non-negotiables. So I put a certain amount of money that was non-negotiable. I put that it was a remote job, non-negotiable. I put that it was inbound leads, non-negotiable. I put that it was a great and awesome product that really helped people, non-negotiable, okay? I had these things that were my non-negotiables, and they were all fair things, nothing outlandish. Amount of money I needed to live, and then I knew I just wanted to work in inbound sales. And I wanted to sell a product that was really great for people, that wasn't taking advantage of people, okay? So I made this list, I cleaned up my resume, and then I just prayed every day for months. I wasn't looking for a job, I just prayed every day for months. With this time I had off, I woke up one morning and I heard a voice, not like a booming voice, but I felt a nudge, right? And I felt this nudge, and this nudge was like, Derek, that job is on Indeed right now. So I go to Indeed and I see the job posting. I read this job posting and I'm like, this is it. Check marks every single box and then some. So I apply for the job and hear nothing. 30 days goes by and I keep thinking, gosh, I wonder what happened with that job. Felt like it was the right job. 30 days later, the CEO calls me. It's like, hey, can you interview this weekend? I'm like, absolutely. I had the job on Monday. And I've been there now for 4 years. And that experience was one of the best experiences because it just showed me that you could just pray and listen and get moved into the right direction. And the normal way I would have went about looking for a job was with all this anxiety, all of this panic, or this limited thinking of what is out there and what I could do, and would have accepted something that just was uh, so far off what was the best for me and my life. And this job opportunity, aside from the job being like really awesome, um, it's created other experiences in my life. It's freed me up to do some things in my life I never thought I could do. That's one miracle I wanted to share with you today. So when we get together again in 2 weeks, so 2 weeks is going to be January 28th at the same time. We'll review lessons 15 through, I think that'll be 15 through 28 at that time. And I'm looking forward to that. Now, for anybody who wants to start doing the workbook lessons or some great resources for you is you go to acim.org where you can read the course for free. You can also download, there's a couple different apps. There's an app called ACIM Reminder. If you struggle with remembering to do the course throughout the day, you can set reminders and it will alert you to the times of day and how many times that the workbook lessons are to be done, and also with the mantra. And then also there's another app, I think it's just called A Course in Miracles. The first one I talked about, ACIM Reminder, that's like $5-6 and you have it forever. The other one is an ACIM monthly one. I think that's like $5 a month. It's great because you can listen to the audiobook of the course. It has the daily lessons recorded. You can listen to some meditations and prayers. I think there's a bunch of other stuff in there just I haven't explored. I have both. If you need the reminders, ACIM Reminder. If you want like a fuller app, go for the regular ACIM app. You get all of that in the Apple Store, the Google Play Store. We'll be back in a couple weeks, and I hope that in between now and the next time we get together, you've had some kind of miracle. Remember, if you need a miracle, just stop and ask, dear God, I'm really frustrated about XYZ. I need a miracle. And the greatest quote, I think the Course in Miracles says this, the greatest prayer, the simplest prayer to ask sometimes is just, God, help me. All right. I'll see you guys again soon.